He kissed me in the middle of his sister's wedding. Right there, in the dark corner of the reception tent, his hand still cold from the champagne glass, he leaned in and kissed me like it was the most natural thing in the world. And the crazy part? This was my best friend, my straight best friend, and he was the groom's brother. I know how this sounds, but I swear I didn't plan for any of this. My name's Evan, and this story starts a few days before that wedding, when I flew back home for the first time in over a year. Sam had been my closest friend since middle school. We were inseparable growing up. Same classes, same sleepovers, same teenage dumbass adventures. And yeah, maybe I crushed on him more than I should have, but he was straight, dating girls, and never once gave me a reason to think otherwise. Until that weekend. The wedding was a big deal. His sister, Julia, had been planning it for a year, and the whole thing was going down at this fancy vineyard 2 hours from our hometown. When Sam asked me to be his plus one because he didn't want to deal with the dating questions, I laughed and said sure. I figured I'd eat good food, drink too much, and survive the awkward family small talk. But I wasn't ready for how much he'd changed. When I saw him at the airport, I barely recognized him. The baby face was gone. His jawline was sharper, his hair shorter, and he carried himself like someone who'd grown into his skin. He pulled me into a hug like no time had passed. "Still using that vanilla body spray?" he teased, grinning as we walked to the rental car. "And you still think Old Spice counts as cologne?" I shot back. It was easy, being around him again. Too easy. And that was dangerous. We got to the vineyard that night, just before dinner. The place was absurd, like something out of a wedding planner's dream. Rolling hills, fairy lights, that warm golden haze in the air. Julia greeted me like a long-lost cousin and made me promise I'd help keep Sam socially functional. What I didn't expect was how clingy he would be. At the rehearsal dinner, he barely left my side. We shared drinks, joked around like old times, and he kept touching me. Little things. A hand on my back. A thumb brushing my sleeve. At one point, while everyone else was dancing, he leaned in close and said, "I'm glad you came." I tried to play it cool, told myself not to read into it. But then came the wedding day. Everyone was buzzing around. Photographers, caterers, drunk uncles trying to be helpful. I stayed out of the way, mostly hanging near the bar, nursing a cocktail and watching Sam give his speech at the reception. He killed it. Funny, heartfelt, classic Sam. But when his eyes locked with mine halfway through, something shifted. Afterward, while people were busy doing shots and taking blurry dance floor selfies, he pulled me aside. "You okay?" I asked, noticing he looked kind of dazed. He nodded slowly. "I've just been thinking about something." "Yeah?" His jaw flexed. "If I did something right now, something stupid, would you hate me for it?" I blinked, confused. "Depends. Are we talking, like, karaoke stupid or felony stupid?" His lips quirked, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "Just answer the question." "I guess it depends on what it is," I said carefully. And then, without another word, he stepped forward, closed the space between us, and kissed me. It wasn't a drunk mistake. It wasn't quick or apologetic. It was slow, intentional. His hand found the side of my face. His breath mingled with mine, and for a moment, the music, the lights, the crowd, they all disappeared. Then he pulled back and whispered, "I've wanted to do that since we were 17. I didn't breathe. Because the story didn't start at the wedding. It started way before that. And what happened next? Well, it changed everything. I stood there frozen, lips still tingling, my brain trying to process what the hell just happened. Sam took a small step back, eyes scanning my face like he was bracing for impact. "Say something," he said, his voice barely audible over the distant thump of music from the dance floor. I started, then stopped. What was I supposed to say? That I'd been fantasizing about this exact moment for years? That I'd replayed what it would feel like to kiss him more times than I could count? "You're not drunk, are you?" I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. He shook his head. "1 glass of wine. I'm not that guy." "Then what was that?" Sam exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "I don't know. I mean, I do. I just didn't think I'd actually do it." My heart was pounding. "So why now?" He looked down, then back up. "Because you're here. Because it's been messing with me for months, and I finally realized I might not get another chance. You were gone, Evie. And it sucked." I leaned against the wooden beam beside us, trying to slow the carousel of thoughts spinning in my head. "I didn't know you felt that way," I said quietly. "Neither did I," he admitted. "Not really. Not until you left." We stood there in silence for a moment, the sounds of clinking glasses and distant laughter spilling out from the reception tent behind us. "I don't know what this means," he said eventually. "I don't know if I'm gay or bi or just what?" I asked. "I don't know, just drawn to you." That did something to me. Hearing him say it out loud like that, unfiltered, cracked something open inside me. "Sam, you're my best friend," I said. "This changes everything." "Maybe it's supposed to," he replied. "Maybe it's been changing for a while." I searched his face, looking for doubt, some sign this was a heat-of-the-moment thing. But it wasn't there. He looked nervous, yeah, but he also looked sure. He laughed nervously. "God, this is such a mess. I kissed my best friend at my sister's wedding." "And you didn't even spill your drink," I said, trying to lighten the moment. He smiled, the kind of smile that reached his eyes. "I've missed you. I've been here for, like, a day." "Yeah, but before that," he said. "When you moved away, I didn't think it would hit me that hard." My throat tightened. "It hit me too. I kept waiting for it to fade," he continued. "For it to feel normal not having you around. But it didn't." He took a step closer again, our bodies nearly touching. "I don't want to go back to that," he said. "I don't either." His hand brushed mine, light at first, then more deliberate. It was such a small thing, but it felt massive. "I don't know what I'm doing," he whispered. "I've never been with a guy. I don't even know if I'm allowed to want this." "You are," I said. "If it's real. If it's not just the wine talking or the wedding vibes." He nodded. "It's real, I promise." The music behind us shifted to a slower song, something romantic and a little cheesy. Sam looked over his shoulder toward the tent, then back at me. "You want to dance?" he asked. "Here? Why not?" So we did. Right there on the edge of the vineyard, under a string of fairy lights and the half-drunk gaze of the moon, I let him take my hand. His palm was warm, steady. Mine probably wasn't. We moved slowly, awkwardly at first, then more comfortably, like we were figuring something out together because we were. That night didn't end with another kiss or some wild hookup. It ended with Sam resting his forehead against mine and whispering, "Let's not pretend this didn't happen." I nodded. "No pretending." And we stayed like that, in the middle of everything, holding on just a little tighter than we used to. The next morning, everything should have felt different. But it didn't. Not at first, anyway. The sun was already up when I woke. I could hear birds outside and the faint clink of breakfast dishes from the main house kitchen. For a second, I lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to decide if last night had actually happened. But then my phone buzzed. "Sam, meet me out back when you're up." It was a short text, but my stomach flipped reading it. No emojis, no nervous energy, just him direct as always. Still, it carried weight. I dressed quickly, ran a hand through my hair, and stepped outside into the crisp morning air. The grass was damp with dew, the vineyard rose glistening in the early light. Sam was already out there, sitting on a patio bench, nursing a coffee. He looked up when he saw me and gave a small smile. Not sheepish, not cocky, just real. "Hey, he said. Hey. I sat down next to him. There was a silence. Not awkward, just heavy with what hadn't been said yet. So, about last night, I started. He nodded. Yeah. Was it? It wasn't a mistake. He cut in gently. If that's what you're about to ask. I studied his face. There was a calm to him I didn't expect. You don't regret it? Not even a little, he said. Do you? I shook my head slowly. No, I've wanted something like that with you for a long time. But I never thought. I know, he said. I didn't think either, until I did. Another pause. He ran a thumb along the edge of his mug, then looked at me again. I've never kissed a guy before. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but when I saw you last night, you looked so good, and I remembered how it always felt better when you were around. How it still does. I felt my chest tighten. This thing between us, whatever it is, it's not going to be easy. Sam exhaled. Yeah, I know. There's your family, your friends, your whole life you've built up around being the guy who's definitely into girls. Except, I'm apparently not just into girls, he said, smiling a little. That's gonna take some getting used to. I've had a whole year to miss you, he replied. I think I can handle figuring this out if you're in it with me. He said it so simply. No drama, no overthinking. Like he'd already decided. Are you sure? I asked. I don't want to be something you experiment with and then move on from when it gets hard. Sam turned to face me fully, eyes serious now. I'm not experimenting, and I'm not walking away. I believed him. Still, there were a million things to consider. How people would react, what it would mean for our friendship, our past, our future. But somehow, it all felt secondary when he reached over and touched my hand. We've got the whole weekend, he said. Let's just figure out what this is. No pressure, no pretending. And after that we see where it goes. I'm not going back to the way things were. I know that much. I squeezed his hand, something unspoken, passing between us. That afternoon, we skipped the group hike and snuck off to the lake instead. We sat under a tree, eating leftover cake from a paper plate, laughing about nothing. He leaned his head against my shoulder at one point, and I didn't move. That night, we shared a bed. Not because anything happened, but because it felt right. And when he rolled over, wrapped an arm around my waist, and mumbled, "You're warm," I knew I was in trouble. The best kind. Because this wasn't just a kiss at a wedding. It was the start of something that might actually mean everything. The next few days felt like living in a bubble, one that I didn't want to pop. We did all the usual wedding weekend stuff, group brunches, family photos, awkward toasts. But something had shifted. Sam kept finding little excuses to touch me, a brush of his fingers when he handed me something, a hand at the small of my back when we moved through crowds. Small, casual gestures that probably went unnoticed by everyone else, but not by me. And when our eyes met from across the room, it was like the world narrowed down to just the two of us. Still, we hadn't talked much more about it. We were caught in this weird space, somewhere between friends and something else entirely. I could feel it hanging in the air, especially the night after the wedding when most of the guests had already left and it was just close family and friends lingering at the vineyard. Sam and I ended up on the porch again, just like that first night. The stars were out, the breeze was warm, and he passed me a beer without saying a word. I took a sip, then looked over. "You're quiet. Just thinking," he said. "Dangerous." He smirked, then turned serious. "I don't want this to end when we go back home." My heart thudded. "It doesn't have to." "I mean it," he said. "I don't want to pretend we're just friends again. I don't want to bury this." "You won't have to," I told him. "But it's not going to be easy." "I don't care if it's easy," he said. "I care if it's real." That stopped me. He looked at me like he was searching for something. Permission, maybe. Or reassurance. "You're not scared?" I asked. "Terrified," he said, laughing under his breath. "But I'm more scared of losing you again. I don't think I can go back to life before you." He leaned in, and this time, I met him halfway. The kiss was softer than the first, slower. It wasn't about passion or urgency, it was about knowing. And when he pulled away, he rested his forehead against mine. I don't know what this means for my label, or what people are gonna think, or any of that, he whispered. But I know what I feel. I didn't need him to say more. Later that night, we lay in bed, not touching, not talking, just breathing the same quiet air. It was enough. The next morning, we packed up, loaded the car, and headed back toward the city. The drive was quiet in a comfortable way. His playlist played low through the speakers, and every now and then, he'd reach over and rest his hand on my thigh without looking, like he didn't even need to check if it was okay. When we pulled into his apartment complex, neither of us moved to get out. "So, what now?" I asked. He thought for a second. "Now? We ordered Chinese food, binge something dumb, and figure it out." I laughed. "That sounds perfect." As we walked inside, his hand brushed against mine. He didn't pull away. He didn't need to. That night at his apartment felt like stepping into a new version of our friendship, one where everything looked the same, but nothing really was. We sprawled on his couch with Chinese takeout boxes balanced on our laps, Parks and Rec playing quietly in the background, and neither of us said much at first. There was this odd calm between us, like we both knew we were standing on the edge of something, but weren't sure how deep the drop was. Eventually, Sam looked over, a piece of sesame chicken halfway to his mouth. "Did it feel weird for you, sleeping next to me last night?" I set my box down and thought about it. Not weird, just new. New good or new... What the hell are we doing? I shrugged. Both? He laughed, and that sound alone made everything feel lighter. I didn't sleep much, he admitted, but not in a bad way. I just kept thinking. About? He hesitated. What this is gonna look like. You and me. In real life. Yeah, I said, I've been thinking about that too. He leaned back into the cushions, eyes on the ceiling. You know my parents are gonna freak, I nodded. Mine too, and I'll probably lose a few friends. Or at least, they'll start acting different. You okay with that? I don't know, he said honestly. But I think I'm more okay with that than I am with pretending nothing's happening between us. That got me. Because he wasn't the guy who said stuff like that. Sam was the guy who avoided heavy talks, who joked his way through everything. Hearing him say that meant it wasn't just a weekend fling. He was actually in this. You're not doing this just because I'm convenient, right? I asked carefully. Because I came back at the right time, and you're feeling nostalgic? He turned toward me then, his expression serious. Evan, I kissed you at my sister's wedding. In public. With 100 people around. If I was trying to play it safe, that wouldn't have been the move. Fair point. I smiled a little. I just needed to hear you say it. I mean it, he said, reaching over and hooking a finger around mine. You've always been the one. Something caught in my chest. The kind of thing you don't even realize you've been holding until someone finally names it. We finished our food in a quiet rhythm, and when the credits rolled on the show, he didn't say anything, just leaned his head on my shoulder and let it stay there. Later, when we crawled into bed, there was no hesitation this time. He climbed in behind me, wrapped his arm around my waist and didn't let go. You still smell like that vanilla body spray, he mumbled against the back of my neck. Old habits die hard, he laughed softly. It's weirdly comforting, like, I don't know, home. And just like that, I felt something settle inside me. Something I'd been waiting for without realizing it. Maybe it wouldn't be easy. But it was starting to feel like it was going to be ours. We didn't make it official right away. There were still things to figure out, conversations to have, people to tell or not tell. But something about that first week back in the city with Sam felt different, grounded. Like whatever we were doing it together. He didn't hide it. Not from his friends, not from his sister when she called to gossip about wedding photos. I caught him more than once, scrolling through his camera roll, pausing on the one blurry pic someone had taken of us laughing on the edge of the vineyard. You look good in this one, he'd say casually. Then add, we look good. He wasn't wrong. There were moments of awkwardness, of course. Like the first time we kissed in public, outside a food truck of all places. He went for it like it was no big deal, and when I flinched a little, Surprised, he pulled back immediately. "Too much?" he asked. "No," I said, smiling. "Just not used to it." "Me neither," he replied, "but I want to be." Little by little, we started acting like a couple. And then eventually, we stopped thinking of it as acting at all. But there was one conversation we hadn't had yet. Labels. It came one night after we'd been out with friends. Some who knew, some who didn't. We got home late, tipsy but not drunk, and fell onto the couch in a lazy tangle of limbs. I don't know what made me bring it up. Do you ever think about, I don't know, what this makes you? Sam blinked at me. What do you mean? Like, are you bi? Gay? Just into me? I laughed nervously. I know it's stupid, but it's not stupid, he said, cutting me off gently. I've thought about it. And? He paused, thinking. I don't know if I have a label. I've been into girls all my life. But with you, it's just different. It feels like what I've been waiting for, even if I didn't know it. I nodded, trying to hide how much that meant to me. So you're samsexual, I teased. He grinned. Exactly. And as long as I've got you, I don't care what anyone else calls it. That was enough. Some nights, I'd catch him watching me from across the room, just watching, and I'd feel it in my chest, this quiet certainty that he was all in. We weren't perfect. We had fights. We snapped at each other about dumb stuff like laundry and whether pineapple belongs on pizza, but we kept coming back to the same place. Us. It's funny. I used to think love had to look a certain way. Big gestures, grand declarations. But the real thing? It looked like him texting me, "You good?" when I had a bad day. It looked like falling asleep with his arm around me and waking up to his face buried in my shoulder. It looked like slowly, steadily building a life together. Not flashy, but real. And if I had to sum up the moment I knew I was gone for him, it wasn't the kiss at the wedding. It wasn't the night we first slept in the same bed. It was the morning I caught him wearing my hoodie while he made pancakes. He looked up, flour on his cheek, and said, "I hope you're not expecting me to be the only one who cooks in this relationship." I laughed, stepped behind him, wrapped my arms around his waist and kissed his shoulder. "Depends," I said. "You making pancakes forever?" He turned, smiling. "If you're staying for forever, yeah."